Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Agrible, your premier platform for real-time global insights. Well, with March in the books, I want to take a look here and see what the overall temperature patterns look like, because I hate to say it, but it looks like the first half of April is going to be a wash, rinse, and repeat kind of cycle here. We've had at times some pretty strong troughs that have come out the west coast, and that's why we've seen some cooler than average temperatures over the month on average here. But really the big story has been the persistent troughing over the north of the Great Lakes into the Hudson Bay, and the negative North Atlantic oscillation that's really helped this cold air really just spill out of Montana straight on down to the southeast, while keeping kind of this area to its south here in the south central plains not only warm but very dry. This has also been the pattern that's led to the at least 4 nor'easters we've seen go up the northeast coast. Well, I'll tell you something. Speaking of snow here, I just want to show you, this was a map that showed you the 72-hour total accumulation of snow that ended in the evening around 7 p.m. on Sunday evening. Now, I'm making this video very, very early on Monday morning, and so this snow definitely spread across parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. But this was a system that, I'll be honest with you, when I was doing my forecasting last Wednesday for Thursday morning's video, the model was at that point kind of starved for moisture, and it looked as though the system is going to come through bringing in some light snow and some, and some precipitation further south. But it really overachieved based on what the models were showing. And I was going to let you know, at that time, the models were in pretty decent agreement, and it pointed me to maybe focus more on the heavier snows in the Dakotas, really North Dakota into Minnesota and Wisconsin. So these are tricky forecasts, and it just shows you how much things can change in such a short amount of time. Well, this is what it eventually did. I want you to watch this animation here and see the snow band setting up through parts of Nebraska, getting to northern Missouri, right on in here into parts of Illinois. And as that one came through, right in through here, this brought in some really, really heavy snows and some pretty nasty conditions through parts of Missouri, southern Iowa, midsection here of Illinois and Indiana. And I'll be honest with you, I drove this Interstate 72 on Sunday evening, and it was tough. Counted 45 cars off the road just due to the heavy, heavy snows. So April brought in this surprise, and I'm just going to be honest with you, we didn't pick it up in the models, really see that it was going to be like this probably until early Friday morning. It was a tough one to forecast. But let's keep this in the back of our minds as we move forward in our long-range forecast, because things right now are looking pretty dicey across the country. Well, let's take a look at what we got here. We have hard freeze warnings getting down here into parts of southern Kansas, really getting into parts of Missouri and Oklahoma. These colors over here, this represents high wind warnings and red flag warnings. So we're talking about some very windy conditions on Monday. We'll look at those in just a few seconds. Here's the remnants of that system going off to the northeast, dumping quite a bit of snow in parts of Pennsylvania and New York, getting off to the northeast. And our next system's coming in here through parts of Montana, which has been incredibly cold and very, very snowy as far back as I can remember this winter. So it's active right now, and let's take a look at what to expect. Here's what Monday's going to look like. Now check this out. You see this really warm tongue of air that kind of stretches right here, through the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas, getting up into Kansas, back into Colorado. You see, we have a developing system out here, and out ahead of it, as it moves on out, I should say, we're going to be seeing downslope flow. So that's flow that's coming off the mountains, and as it does, it compressionally warms. We're also going to be advecting or moving some warm air up here. So we're going to be seeing temperatures in western Kansas getting into the 80s to start this week. In fact, I want to show you liberal Kansas. Check this out. So we're going to go from really cold temperatures to really, really warm as we get into Monday here. Then the temperature going to dive back down to back near freezing. We're going to warm up again toward the end of the week before it falls back down again. I'm just telling you, the hard red winter wheat country and through here is in for a ride on temperatures. Actually, the whole country's in for a ride. So let's talk about it. You know that this has been the big feature that I've been discussing. This was the thing that we had to watch, because as that really, really warm air pushed to the north here, we discussed how that was really going to be pushing quite a bit of cold air down over to the Hudson Bay. So this was our setup as we got things going. Now, as I animate this, what I want you to really kind of pay attention to here is what the pattern looks like as we move forward. Now, that bigger trough stays there through most of the week, but watch this. If I come back here to Tuesday, do you see this feature right here? This is the one Monday into Tuesday that we're going to be watching, this trough right here. Because as this one ejects into the Great Plains and then moves over on Tuesday over and toward the, the mid-Mississippi River Valley over to the Ohio River Valley, we have big time potential right in through here for some severe weather. So we're going to have to watch this one carefully. But watch, as I continue to move forward, the bigger trough reestablishes itself, and this is the cool pattern we've been in while the west enjoys this ridge. But watch as I continue to animate this out getting into next weekend. See, we keep that cooler pattern here, but a broader ridge stretches across much of the western, almost half of the country. But look across the open Pacific. I've got 1, 2, 3 troughs all lined up that are all going to be moving toward the U.S. This just signifies how active of a pattern we are going to be in as we move into the month of April. We have to keep a very, very close eye on it. Now, I told you we got to be on the lookout for some severe weather, so watch this. This is an animation getting us through the next 3.5 days as forecast by the NAM model. You're looking at what the radar would look like. Now, as I press play here, here's the snow moving off to the northeast, so that's going to be bringing in quite a bit of snow there. We do have some snow moving into northern plains as this new system starts to develop. So here's Montana's winter storm warning. This is now getting into Dakotas, over here toward Minnesota and Wisconsin again. But the thing to be watching is as this low comes out is watch this. Here comes more precipitation through the Ohio River Valley, soaking that area again. Snow on the backside over here. As the system pulls forward, it's going to drag a strong cold front. Right now, this is 2 p.m. on Tuesday through Illinois, and watch as this lines out into this large frontal squall line that's going to stretch all the way from Ohio down to Louisiana. It will be the warm, moist air coming out ahead of this, combined with some decent wind shear, and also due to some instability that right now we're going to be watching this whole area for some strong and damaging winds. Now, what did we just see here? We just saw the same region that's been absolutely hammered with precipitation, now dealing with a squall line of strong thunderstorms midweek this week, which brings in more precipitation, even some damaging winds. And so the moral of the story is we're going to be having some trouble right in through this area with getting that crop in. It is delayed, and you just saw the weather making that problem happen. Here's what snow looks like. There's the first system bringing snow over here to the northeast. Here's the next one. See it coming right into parts of the Dakotas, southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, even parts of Nebraska getting into Wisconsin. I do get pretty decent agreement among the models on this snow track. So this is what we're watching as we get through the through midweek this week. Now, this next animation, I'm going to take you out 10 days. So watch this. As we animate, I hope you are all seeing how active of a pattern it is. Now, this first system here, this is going to be early in the morning on Monday, moving toward the northeast. Here's our next system taking shape. Remember, I told you snow here in the Dakotas, Montana, getting over to Minnesota. There it is. And as that system goes racing across, it's a lot of rain for the Ohio River Valley. Big, long squall line developing here Tuesday evening, going across the southeast and really across Tennessee and Kentucky and parts of Ohio, all the way back down to Louisiana. And then that one clears out, and here comes the next one. You see these things keep getting lined up, and this is our next system for next weekend. Now, please listen. We've got to get quite a bit of cold air in here in order to get this to be snow, which means this system we're going to have to watch very, very carefully moving forward. But this is next weekend, so it's about a week from when I'm making this video. We have another one kind of coming through. And it's all those troughs lined up out west that just keep bringing these systems through. The pattern stays active. You combine those with that deeper trough over the Great Lakes, north of the Great Lakes, really in the Hudson Bay, we stay cold and we stay active. Here's total accumulated precip. About the only thing that I really want to point out here is just two simple features. One, extremely wet in this area. Okay? We talked about this in the last video. We are just keeping this area wet, preventing a lot of folks from getting that early field work done. And notice over here, we continue with that drier bias in this area. Now, eastern Kansas, eastern Oklahoma does get some precip, but we're looking here in the western Kansas region, panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas, as being dry over the next 10 days. And certainly as each one of those troughs comes in onshore, we're going to be seeing wetter than average conditions across the west coast. That's why your next 10 days, as forecast here by ECMWF of the European model, will be pick up on here is that wetter pattern out west, and certainly going to be that wetter pattern in the Ohio River Valley with drier conditions here in the central part of the U.S. Temperatures, here we go. I almost don't even want to talk through this. That's your next 10 days. We've been discussing it. It just hangs on to that cool pattern. If you do get a warm-up, it will be brief. If you're in the Central Plains, the swings will be quite wild, but overall a cooler pattern. Here's the ECMWF giving us our longer range forecast out for the next 10 days, showing some pretty strong model agreement here. So this is it. This is what we're looking at as we get through the first half of the month of April. We are certainly locked into a cool and very active pattern. So this is signifying a pretty kind of rocky start here as we try to move into April and get that crop planted and get things moving. So weather's certainly not giving you the most ideal conditions. You know what though? We'll keep you updated. We'll give you the best information we can, and we'll try to make sure that we can make sense of the weather because it is certainly chaotic. Well, we hope you look forward to Agrible's next ag forecast coming out on Thursday. Head to agrible.com to learn how you can get real-time agronomic and sustainability insights all at the touch of a button. I look forward to talking to you again midweek.